Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining our monthly webinar series. Today we are taking a look at the reporting available in RoomKeyPMS. Now we have a lot to cover in today's presentation, so the outline of our presentation for today will start with some introductions, then we'll dive right into our topic and look at how reports are used in RoomKey. We'll look at some details of some basic reporting that all properties should be aware of how to access and use in their system. We'll also talk about optional reporting tools that are available in every RoomKey PMS database. We'll then talk about RoomKey Insight BI available for our enterprise level clients, as well as our report wizard, which allows you to create custom reports in your RoomKey PMS database. We'll then talk about when you can start using these reporting options and tools inside RoomKey, and we'll wrap up today's presentation with a summary and Q&A. So jumping into our introductions for today, my name is Tasha LeClaire. I'm a trainer and implementation specialist with RoomKey. Joining me today, I do have our Director of Customer Experience, Mr. William Tam. I'll be leading today's presentation and the demonstrations on screen, and William will oversee the chat and Q&A section. Everyone participating today will be on mute, but if you do have a question, please use the Q&A button on the Zoom presentation to ask a question. William will be able to type an answer, reply to you, and any questions that are left over, we can add to our Q&A at the end. Couple more things about our webinar presentation today. It is being recorded and a copy of that recording will be made available on our public support website. Anyone registered for this webinar will receive a notification when that becomes available on our website. Those of you attending our live presentation will receive a survey at the end of the presentation. We do appreciate any feedback that you're able to provide us, as well as any topic suggestions for future webinar presentations. Speaking of future webinars, our next webinar presentation topic will cover two-way GDS interfaces. So if your property interfaces with any global distribution services, you may want to check out our next presentation. We'll be talking about some of the two-way services that we have established with RoomKey, as well as a brand new one launched just this year. So jumping into our topic for today, reporting and how it's used inside RoomKey, we will start with a bit of a definition, but I will let you know it's quite broad because reporting can be a variety or has a very broad definition in and of itself. So at its core, reports convey values. These could be revenue values, inventory, it could be historical activity information, any sort of key values that are relevant to a business subject to time. So the way that we look at these reports inside RoomKey, and there are over 80 different reporting options available in RoomKey, we tend to break them out into how they are subjected to time. So each report is going to give you either the option to select a date range, either past date ranges, future date ranges, or it's going to give you a snapshot of what is currently happening at this very moment, the moment that you generate that report. So those breakdowns again, it could be present reporting or snapshot reporting. It could be past reporting, that's reviewing statistical information on past dates, or it could be future reporting, showing that forecast information for the future. Now, given that outline or that bit of a definition, I want to talk about some of the basic reports that every key operator at a hotel using RoomKey should be aware of how to access these reports and how they can be used at your property. So the basic reports I'm going to highlight in today's presentation, there's 7 of them. They're displayed here, and we're going to look at these one at a time. The first one I want to take a look at is the Smart File Backup Report. This report, or set of reports actually, can be used in an emergency, and they are a combination of snapshot and forecast reports. So what is happening in the hotel, as well as forecasting for the future. Now, the reason why I mentioned that these can be used in an emergency is because RoomKeyPMS requires an internet connection in order to access and log into the database. But when you log into the database, you enter your login name and password. If you don't have access to the internet in an emergency, you can click the Smart File Backup button on this login page and access the Smart File Backup reporting. That's going to give you this pop-up, which gives you printer icons for each of those reports. So things like your arrivals, departures, in-house, and housekeeper reports are snapshot reports of what is currently happening in the hotel. And then you also have a couple of forecasting reports, such as reservations and inventory, which will show you those values for the next 2 weeks and give you the ability to still operate your hotel manually without the database for a short period of time while you wait for the emergency to be over or while you wait for your internet to be reinstated. Now, what I'd like to highlight about the Smart Files backup is that these backups are performed automatically in the background while you're operating RoomKey itself. So these backups happen every 6 to 12 minutes automatically on each computer workstation that has RoomKeyPMS downloaded. So you can actually see when the last time these backups were created. When you access this Smart Files backup screen, it will tell you the last time that that backup was generated. Now, the next report that I want to highlight is the Transaction Register Balance Report. Now, this report is used often to audit all charges and payments. It's a really useful tool to see all the transactions that includes charge codes, room revenue codes, payment codes, and tax codes, all of those charges and payments that were recorded within a date range. Now, I like this report because it is quite versatile. You can look at it for the current date, so a snapshot of what is happening or what charges and payments have been recorded today, or you can look at it for past dates or a range of past dates. So you could look at it for up to 1 month date range. This report will also have detail and summary versions available, so that, again, is very versatile depending on how you want to use this report. To find this report, you'll find it in the Reports menu in the Financial section. It's called Transaction Register Balance, and we're going to look at 2 versions of the report. We'll start with the summary. So here is how you would select that summary version. When you generate the summary version, it's going to group all of your transaction codes by type. So we've got other charge grouped at the top, then payment codes, then your room charge codes, and at the bottom, it will also summarize your taxes. Now, depending on how your transaction codes are built in the system, and depending on the services and things that you charge to your guests, you may have a larger or smaller list of other charges. But this is just an example here on an example database where it shows the amount that was charged, any taxes that are applicable, and then the total amount. And then, of course, it has that summary or summary breakdown of those taxes at the very bottom as well. Now, like I said, this is often used as an auditing report. So your night audit team or your next day auditing AM shift may pull this report for the previous day to see a summary or totals that were recorded for the previous day. Now, if there's any discrepancies that appear on this report, that is where you may find the detailed version beneficial. So to access that detail version, you're going to go back to that same reporting menu in the financial section and select Transaction Register Balance. This time you'll select the detail option, and I'd like to recommend detail with guest names. There is also a detail compact version that will omit those guest names, but the most information, if you want to gather all possible information, go ahead and select with guest names. Now, this report is going to generate the same values, but this time it's going to break out each instance that those transaction codes were used. And the benefit of this is that in the first column, it's going to tell you the res ID and room number where those transactions were posted. So you can see exactly where the transaction was posted, the folio information, and the third column is actually going to tell you the clerk ID. So it records the name of the clerk or user who posted that transaction. So you can find out where to find any mistakes, you can correct the mistake, and you can also follow up with the clerk ID who made the mistake. So ensuring that they don't repeat that mistake in the future. The next report that I'm going to highlight in today's presentation is the activity log. This is also used, can be used in conjunction with correcting mistakes or doing investigations when a mistake is detected. This activity log shows an activity that any changes that are made on a reservation or reservation activity changes. So there's two ways that we can view this report. The first way is to view it all changes made to a single reservation, or we can use this report to view users' reservation activity. So you can view all reservation activity by a single user or clerk ID. Regardless of how you use the report, you will find it in the operations menu. It's called the activity log. And once you open up the activity log, the first way that you can use it is to enter the res ID of a reservation, click the show button, and then you will see a list of changes that were made to that reservation. So it records everything from when the reservation was made, any modifications, when the guest is checked in, any payments that are posted. It will record checkout and anything that occurs after checkout as well. Now, these actions are summarized by an action statement here. So the first three changes or modifications are simply say create/modify. Now, when you're first viewing this information, I do recommend that you click the black arrow. That's step number 3 on the screen here. That black arrow will click to expand the parameters. So you can see the details of what might have been changed as part of that action. Now, if you're new to using the activity log, or if you would like to have a printed copy of the activity log, you can have these parameters expanded by default, so it shows all on one page instead of summarized in this view. To show the expanded version, you'll start with the res ID again, but instead of clicking show, you will click print. The print will give you a print preview of the exact same report, but it will expand all of those parameter values by default. So depending on how many changes have been made to a reservation or how many logs appear here in the activity log, this could be quite large. This one, for example, I think was a little, about 2 pages in length, just shows the first page here. So that's the first example where we're viewing changes made to a single reservation. Of course, you can also see the clerk ID who made each change or made each change on that single reservation. The next way that you can use this activity log is to view changes made by a single user across multiple reservations. So again, using the activity log, but this time you'll use the date and user fields in step 1. Then you'll click the show button or print if you want it that expanded version or report view. And then you can view all of the different changes that a user or clerk ID has made to multiple reservations. Again, if you're using the show version, you can click on the black arrow to expand and view those parameters, the details of each change there. It is important to note that when you're looking at activity for a single user, it will have that user's name listed in the user column. but the res ID will differ along the right-hand side. So the res ID column will show the different reservation IDs that were affected by that user throughout their day. The next report that we'll be looking at are unbalanced folios. Now, this report, I do recommend that this report is used daily. It is used to detect any balances on checked out or canceled reservations. And the reason why I recommend looking at this report on a daily basis is because unbalanced folios are the #1 cause of errors in revenue reporting. So this report is found in the audit section of the reporting menu, and it's simply called unbalanced folios. Now, the trick with this report is that it will default to look at the current day, but I like to recommend looking at this report for up to 1 year in the past so that it can capture any past data as well. So the way that you would do that, when you select Unbalanced Folio Report from the reporting menu, you will have a date range pop-up that appears here on screen, and you can use the date from value to change back to 1 year in the past. So I usually just click on the the year value and just type in the previous year. So in this case, I typed in 2022. When you click OK, the most common result you will get is a warning message that tells you that there are no records to report. This is the ideal scenario. This lets you know that there are no unbalanced folios in your database. If there are any unbalanced folios detected with this report, you will actually have a report generate similar to this, where it will identify the res ID of any unbalanced folios. It will also identify the room number, or if the reservation, if it's a canceled reservation with a balance, it will actually just state the word canceled in that column. And then at the end, it will also identify the outstanding balance. So unbalanced folios can occur if you have a canceled reservation that maybe has a cancellation fee, but a cancellation charge, but no payment for that cancellation charge. Or it could be a checked out reservation where a charge has been posted after the guest has checked out, maybe if there was damage or smoking detected in a non-smoking room. Any balances that are left on those folios, whether they're canceled or checked out, will cause imbalances in your revenue reporting. So that's why it's very important to look at this report on a daily basis. If there are any issues detected, like this report generates, you would go through and review each of the folios on these reservations to balance them. And then, of course, once again, I do recommend running the unbalanced folio report a second time just to ensure that you're getting that warning message telling you that there are no records to report. Working in tandem with that unbalanced folio report is our essential balancing report. This report I do recommend is used on a daily basis, and this will detect any additional revenue errors that could occur and could affect any of your revenue reporting. The way that we use this essential balancing report is a series of 3 balance checks. And these 3 balance checks are used to ensure that the receivable general ledger accounts, or GL accounts, in the database, in every database, are balanced. So to generate this report, you'll access the financial section in the reports menu, and it is called the Essential Balancing Report. Now, this report will, by default, it will display for the current date, but you can look at this essential balancing report for past dates. So if you are a night auditor, you may pull this report or generate this report after midnight for the previous date. You'll be looking at yesterday's date to ensure that those accounts are balanced so that your revenue reporting that you pass on to the accounting team is accurate. Now, when you generate this report, it will show a single line item with a series of values, and you're going to use that one line item or that one line to perform 3 balance checks. The first balance check is to ensure that the AR guest account is balanced. So you're going to compare the in-house guest balance out value and compare that to the AR guest balance out. Now you'll notice on screen, these two values match, but the second one, AR guest, has a negative. You can actually disregard any plus or minus symbols and simply look at the numerical values to ensure that this AR guest account is balanced. The second balance check, you're going to ensure that the AR city is balanced. So you're going to compare the city account balance out value to the AR city balance out. Again, you can disregard any plus or minus symbols and know that these two accounts, if these two values match, the AR city is balanced. The last balance check is to compare the deposit holdings detail value and compare that to the deposit holdings balance out. This ensures that the deposit holdings account is balanced. Now, we do have detailed step-by-step information on our support website for how you can go through, access this essential balancing report. And it also goes into a little more detail about describing revenue flow and how this report ensures that revenue is reported accurate, revenue numbers are reporting accurately. But a short overview is to let you know that revenue flow, that is revenue tracking in RoomKey, based on the guest lifecycle, is tracked based off of these 3 accounts. So any revenue that is collected before a guest arrives, that means any advanced deposits, are tracked using the deposit holdings account. When the guests are in-house, any revenue that is tracked for in-house guests appears in the AR guest account. And any revenue that is owed after a guest checks out, that means any direct billing that is issued is tracked in the AR city account. So depending on whether the guest has yet to arrive, is in-house, or is already checked out, that's how revenue is tracked through those 3 statuses using these 3 separate accounts. If any of these balance checks are not correct, if there is an imbalance detected, you can then take steps recommended on our support website to troubleshoot the out of balance. One of the first steps that you may take is to go back to your unbalanced folio report and ensure that you have no unbalanced folios in the system. Like I said, that's the #1 cause of any errors in this revenue reporting. But once your accounts have been checked, you are confident that your revenue reporting is accurate. One of the key revenue reports that you may want to access, or one that I always like to highlight through training, is the daily operating report. This report allows you to compare revenue to the same date last year. So you can report on today's revenue, but also see the same reporting available for the same date last year if you've been using RoomKey for a year or more. This report also allows you to summarize revenue in month-to-date and year-to-date values. So it'll give you not only the comparison to the same date last year, but you can see comparisons month-to-date and year-to-date as well. So to access this report, you'll find it in the statistics section of the reporting menu. It's called Daily Operating Report, and you'll select the print option. When this report is generated, it can be quite long, depending on how many charges and services you may offer to your guests. But similar to the transaction register balance report, it will group those charges by charge type. So, but it will not show you any payment information. So this is strictly room charges, other revenue, including taxes. You'll notice that your charges are listed vertically on the left-hand side in the first column. And if you'd like to add some customization to this report within the other revenue section, you may choose to add custom grouping. So here I've grouped the food and beverage charges together and the taxes together. If you don't use this custom grouping, it will simply list other charges alphabetically by charge name. But in the first column, you'll see the values for this date for the current year. You can see the comparison to the same date last year. And then you've got headers here that will show you month to date and year to date calculations. So if you wanted to use this report for month end or year end reporting, you can select this report and choose the last date of a month to view month end reporting details in this third column. Or if you're looking at year end, you would select December 31st, and then you would see year end reporting in the second to last column there. So very versatile report that allows you to see those that revenue that's being collected for a single date or across ranges of dates as well. Now, the last report that I'm going to highlight is also a revenue report. This is a journal entry report, and it's most commonly used by the accounting team or passed on to the accounting team because it is used to view general ledger revenue. So we've focused in on many of these revenue reports. We've been talking about charges, but each charge code and each payment code has a general ledger attached, meaning that any revenue that is any credits or debits that are recorded based off of that charge or payment code are crediting or debiting a specific account. And this report will show those credits and debits on those individual accounts. Now, this report will give you options. It can be viewed in a compact or an expand all versions. To access the journal entry report, in the financial section of the reports menu, you will simply select journal entry. When you select journal entry, you will be given a pop-up and you can choose a date range. So you could look at this report for a single date. You could look at it for a range of dates up to 31 days, so up to 1 month at a time. And you will have that option to view either the compact or expand all versions. We'll look at both versions in today's presentation. So the first version we're looking at here is the compact version. This is by default, and you'll see the list of accounts and description on the left-hand side. For each account, it lists out the debits and credits, and then the net change for the date range that is selected. In this case, we're looking at 1 full month, January 2023. The final column is going to show you your month-to-date value for within that selected month. And at the bottom of this report, summarized report, you will also see those 3 receivable accounts, the ones that we looked at and did the balance checks for. That's the AR City, AR Guest, and Deposit Holdings. So you'll see those summarized at the bottom. Now I am looking at a full month, so it will show me the balance in on the January 1st, and it will show me the balance out on January 31st. So again, this report, if you pull it for 1 month, can be helpful in doing any month-end accounting entries. You may also choose to look at this for 1 date, so a single day. For example, the previous day, if you're a night auditor, you may pull this report for the previous day. And at the bottom, it will show you the balance in and balance out for a single day in that case. Now, this is the compact version. If you prefer to see which transactions are crediting and debiting each account, that's where you would use that expand all option. So you'll see here it's the same information, but this time instead of showing the summary, we can see in the description column all of the transactions that are debiting and crediting the single account on the far left side. So for example, here I can see a bottle of wine debited the AR guest ledger. It will show as well for each one of these charges the net change, and then again the month-to-date value. This this expands all version will have that summary of your receivable accounts at the bottom as well, so you kind of get both options available in one. So those 7 reports, like I said, are ones that I like to highlight for all properties, but depending on your business operations or your individual role at the hotel, you may have different reports that you pull on a daily, monthly, or yearly basis. Because there are over 80 reports inside RoomKey, I will not go into detail of every single report in this presentation. That would take far too much time, but I do want to highlight some more optional reporting tools and kind of guide you in the direction of where you can find any additional reporting that may help you in your day-to-day business at the property. So 3 main areas that we'll be looking at as optional or additional reporting include the reports menu itself, modular reports, and the accounting export file. Starting with the reports menu, this is something that we've already seen in today's presentation. I've been showing the reports menu expanded and showing how to find those 7 basic reports. But to take a step back and just look at the reporting menu, it is quite large and it gives you a variety of options here. And the majority of the reporting options or reports available in RoomKey are found in these reporting categories. There's over 80 different reports in just these sections here. Each reporting category has a black arrow next to it, which allows you to expand that list or that category, and you can select your required reports. So I do encourage you, if you have a bit of time today, to take a look at the different reporting categories and the different reports that are available in each of those categories. Some reports are duplicates or just different variations. So for example, in that occupancy section, you will find a variety of variations on in-house and arrivals and departures reports. And if you have a payment interface connected with RoomKey, you will have this additional section called online processing. These are your payment interface reports. So if you have a payment interface like Shift4, or if you use one of our integrated systems like RoomKeyPMS payments, you will have some additional reporting available from this menu as well. So that allows you to support your transaction code audits or payment reconciliation processes that are done on a daily or weekly basis at your property. So lots of information is contained within that reporting menu there. The next thing that I wanted to highlight was the variety of reports that are available in individual modules in RoomKey. Now, the first 2 modules I'm going to highlight here are actually available by quick access keys. So you can actually click either F1 or F9 on your keyboard to quickly access these modules. That first one is the property dashboard, or F1 on your keyboard. This property dashboard gives you a snapshot of what is happening in your hotel at the moment that you click F1. So it's going to give you a summary of how many rooms you have available, your property activity, that means your stayovers, arrivals, departures. It'll give you an overview of some of the housekeeping statuses on the right-hand side and some end-of-day projections. Now, this entire dashboard can be printed as an individual report. You can simply click the print button at the top of the screen there. This report can be used by a front office manager or team leader at the start of their shift to give an idea of what they have or what they can expect for their shift for the day. Now, in addition to being printed as an entire report, this property dashboard also has a series of blue drop-down arrows. So in the activity section in particular, next to your stayovers, arrivals, check-ins, and checkouts, you'll see this blue drop-down arrow next to each of those values, and you can actually click on that blue drop-down arrow to generate its own individual report. So many hotels, instead of using the reporting menu to find arrivals report or checkout report, you may actually access that information quicker from the property dashboard. With 2 simple clicks, F1, and then click the blue drop-down arrow, you can generate your report quite quickly here. Now, this property dashboard does have some housekeeping information in the top right-hand side, and you can generate some reports from this housekeeping report from the property dashboard. But if you are housekeeping or overseeing the housekeeping department, you may want to go directly to the housekeeping module. And you can click F9 on your keyboard to quickly access that housekeeping module. This is going to give you those reports as well, but it gives you a little more flexibility because here in the housekeeping module, you can filter out the information that is displayed on the report generated. So you could look at a combination of dirty and vacant rooms, or just dirty occupied, or all dirty rooms. Any combination of these filters can be selected in the housekeeping module. And then you can click the print button in the action section, and that will print the report. Now, we do have much more information available in our housekeeping training. So if you'd like to learn more about the housekeeping module and how to use that for operational purposes, definitely check out our information on our support website. It goes into more detail about what can be used from this housekeeping module tool, or F9. Now, some other module reports that you may come across throughout your use in RoomKey include all of the reporting available in individual modules that are used to manage things like your corporate accounts, group accounts, wholesalers, and city ledger accounts. So here's an example of the corporate module, and in the top left corner, you can see a list of reports that are available for your corporates to manage those corporate activity and pro forma invoicing. Likewise, in your group module, so when you access the group module, in the top left corner, you have a report menu that gives you a list of various reporting that you can use for your groups. In the wholesaler module, we have the same concept. So in the top left corner, there is a reports menu that expands and gives you access to a variety of reporting and invoicing options for those wholesalers. And lastly, in the city ledger, you can click the reports menu in the top left-hand corner to access those reports and view reporting options that are available in that city ledger module. So whether you are using any of your quick access buttons to access the property dashboard, housekeeping, or if you're operating in and overseeing any of these modules, you do have reporting options. Just take a second look in the top left corner to see what reporting is available to you there. The last optional reporting tool that I'd like to highlight is our accounting export. Now, this is actually specific to any properties that have an accounting export interface, and it is used to export values and save them in a compatible file format so that you can then import them into your accounting software. So depending on what type of accounting software you use, we have different accounting interfaces, but the most common one that I'll show in today's presentation is the QuickBooks accounting software. So to access this export, you will find that in the Export Import menu, and you'll look for the export by name. So it'll actually say the name of your accounting software. In this case, it says QuickBook Export. You will then be given a date pop-up window that will allow you to select which date you would like to export those values for. So in this case, you will note that these are past or statistical reports, reporting on past information. So I've selected a past date in this example. When you select that, when you make your selection, it will now generate a report preview. So it'll preview the information that you are about to export from the RoomKeyPMS database, and you can click the export button in the top left corner. When you click export, it'll give you the option to save, and you can actually give it your own custom file name. So you can choose a file name that is appropriate for your business. And once it's saved to your computer, then you can import it into your accounting software when needed. So I know that that was a bit more higher level overview, but I just wanted to make sure that everyone attending today knows where to find additional or optional reporting options using those other reporting tools. Now, the next thing that we're going to look at in our presentation today is another reporting tool that is outside of the RoomKeyPMS database. This is the RoomKey Insight BI tool. Now, not every property will use this reporting tool. It is kind of geared or focused in on enterprise level reporting. That means if you are a manager or owner of multiple properties and you would like to see or view reports across multiple or chained properties, this is the tool that will allow you to see reporting across multiple properties, as well as PACE reporting and market segment reporting. So to access this reporting tool, you will navigate to a website and you will need to have a RoomKeyPMS login. So you would use the same username and password that you use to log into RoomKey, but you don't necessarily have to have it downloaded onto your computer in order to access this enterprise level reporting. This is web-based reporting. So again, you don't have to have RoomKey downloaded, but you do need to have connection to the internet in order to access these reports. And access is actually restricted by clerk ID. So only individuals with permission to access these reports will be able to log in and view RoomKey Insight BI. So when you log into BI, you will see a landing page. Now there's a variety of combinations of reporting that you can do from RoomKey Insight BI. A couple things I'd like to highlight here is that you have the ability to select which property information you're looking at. And that's really the powerhouse behind this reporting tool. And that's why it's geared towards people who oversee multiple properties or chained properties, because you can view individual information or you can view information across properties. You can select the date or range of dates that you would like to view data for, and then you can view and print your results from the main screen there. So lots of variations that you can produce from this one single tool. A couple reports that I would like to highlight from Insight BI include the market segment report, which will allow you to report on any market segments that have been attached to your rates in the Rate Wizard tool in RoomKey. You can view this for a single hotel within a date or range of dates, and it will produce that market segment report for you with the ability to export this information to a file or save it as a PDF as well. The other report that I like to highlight is the PACE report in RoomKey, and this is actually quite a long set of reports that will display on screen and allow you to scroll through different table variations or graphing variations of this PACE report. Now, this is a demo database that I'm using on screen, so it does show not very much information, but certainly a real active hotel would have more dips and valleys displaying on these graphs. So our last topic for today is the report wizard. And this report wizard tool is used to create custom reports. So if you've looked at all of the basic reporting, if you've reviewed the optional reports and BI, and you're still not able to find or generate a report that you're looking for, you may want to look at using the report wizard to create a custom report. Now, I do have a video here that will take us through the process of creating a report in the report wizard. This report that is demonstrated in the video is going to create a transaction usage report. So we'll see from beginning to end how to create the report and how to view the report results. One thing that I would just like to note is that there are so many different variations of how you would custom build a report. If you're interested in more information, please take a look at our support website. We've got this report that I'll be building in the video, but we also have 6 or 7 other example reports that you may want to practice building in your system before you try and build your own custom report. So let's take a look at the report wizard and building a custom report. So to create a custom report, you're going to access the Reports menu and select Report Wizard. This is the tool that will allow you to create, and you can select the New button. First, you'll give it a report name, and you will select how you want to base your report. So in this case, it's a transaction report, and you'll want to select Show in Menu. Now, you may also want to add a description of how the report is used before you select Next. Next, you'll add variables to the report. This could be the property name or address information, and you'll also want to add the title of the report as well, and click the Next button. Here is where you will add the fields that will be appearing on the report. You select from the left-hand side list of available fields and use the arrow in the middle to add them to the selected fields on the right-hand side. So you'll just repeat that process for each of the fields that you want to include on your report. And then click the Next button. Next is the filter tool. This is what is used to generate your report. So we'll start with a transaction date expression. And here we're going to ask the user to enter a date that is greater than or equal to. So I select greater than or equal to, select parameter, and then I'm going to enter the prompt. So I type in date from, and that's what's going to prompt the user to add that information. I also want them to add a date to, so I will select less than or equal to a parameter, and the prompt is going to be date to. And finally, I want to prompt the user to enter in the transaction code that they are searching for. So I'll select transaction code and expression. This time I want the expression to be equal to. And again, the prompt this time will be to tell the user to enter transaction code. And OK. Now, depending on the type of report you're generating, your filters may be different. But once you've completed the filter, you would select Next. And this is where you can customize how the report displays on screen or on the page. So here I'm adding in some custom titles for the columns that display as well as some custom formatting. So you can choose how the date and how the revenue appears. You can also select how wide each column is. And you can choose if any of the columns have a summary. So summarize, in this case, the revenue, and select next. Next, you can group your results. In this case, I'll group by transaction date. You can also select an order by feature, but that is optional. When you click Finish, you will now be prompted to generate the report. I'll just go through and generate the report for month to date, or March 1st to the 15th. And I'll be looking at Visa transaction codes. So now I have a report generated with those transactions grouped by including their amount and res ID and clerk information. This report, I can print the report or I can save it in PDF format. When I close that preview, I can now view my custom report in my custom report section. You may need to load custom reports first, and then you will see those custom reports available in the list. So I know that video was quite quick, but like I said, we have step-by-step instructions for how to create exactly that same report on our support website, as well as some recommendations for additional reporting. If you notice in that database, there is also a VIP arrival report. That instructions are also available on our support website. So I do encourage you, like I said, to check out our support website for more information about our report wizard as well. So now that we've had an opportunity to see a variety of reporting options available inside RoomKey, let's talk about when you can start using these reporting tools and actual reports. So for the basic and optional reporting that we looked at the beginning of today's presentation, those are available in all of our RoomKeyPMS databases, so you can get started right away. The report wizard is also available in all RoomKeyPMS databases, so you do have the ability to create your own custom reports using that report wizard tool as well. Now, if you are a manager or oversee multiple properties and you would like to have access to RoomKey BI or Insight BI for executive level reporting, you can reach out to our support team via email and request access for your user. Again, each user would need to request access, but these reports are not really focused for front level users. Again, that would be more of a manager or owner level user that would look at accessing RoomKey Insight BI. So to summarize our presentation for today, reporting comes in a variety of options in RoomKey. Not only do we have purpose-built reports, we have optional reports, and as well as the tools that allow you to support enterprise-level businesses. I'm going to open up the floor here just to see if we have any outstanding questions for the end of our day. And it looks like all questions have been answered. Okay, so I've got a question from Francisco asking if you can generate a monthly report for out-of-order rooms. Now, out-of-order rooms can be generated from your housekeeping or your maintenance tools. However, they actually are only snapshots. So it's going to show you a snapshot of rooms that are out of order for the current date. So you may have to look at different custom reporting for that because out of order status does vary from date to date. It's not something that is consistent. You may have some limitations on pulling that for a monthly date range. I'll just leave the Q&A open for a little bit longer. If there are any other questions, please feel free to click that Q&A button. Oh, and we've got a couple people dropping off, so that might be it for our presentation. Okay, well, thank you everyone for joining in today. If there are any residual questions, there is a contact email at the end. And as well, if you do have any suggestions for future webinar presentations, please take a moment to answer our survey at the end of our presentation. But I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much, everyone.